Welcome to the D Word, a podcast brought to you by Team Dix. Visit us at www.teamdix.com for information about our game servers, merchandise, giveaways, and much more. And also, if you haven't already, make sure to check out Team Dix on YouTube for the Hell Let Loose Year in Review Ask Me Anything with Black Matter CEO and Game Director Max, hosted by Chuck Dix. On the last episode, we covered what is Hell Let Loose and some of its main areas of gameplay, along with providing some of our own tips and tricks. Listen in now on the second half of the D Word, Hell Let Loose, as DyslexicYodah,
Hey,
French Roasted,
Howdy.
SakuraRagdoll,
Hello.
and myself, Silent Whisper, talk what's down the line on the HLL Roadmap, what we hope to see on top of that, and share some of our own favorite experiences while playing Black Matter and Team17's Hell Let Loose. Alright guys, so on the last episode, it was pretty nice, straightforward. We're not joined with Fridges today, unfortunately. He could not be here, so boo Fridges.
Boo, Fridges!
Miss ya.
miss you, buddy.
So we'll just jump right in with the roadmap coming in. The last roadmap was published in March, and it's still up to date. They haven't dropped anything much after the last update. So we have Update 7 coming out, which is the animation overhaul, which I am totally looking forward to.
Yeah, it's much needed.
Definitely.
Much needed.
Optimization.
Oh, yeah. And not just for gameplay, but from listening to the AMA, it sounds like the animation overhaul will open up so much ease of working for them to add things like Max was saying in the AMA. So that's one big thing that'll be awesome about it. Like, he said right now adding new weapons and everything is so difficult with how it is, but the new animation, it should be like they could just pretty much, it sounded like they could just paste a new weapon onto the character model and it's already pretty much animated for it. So that'll be super huge.
Yeah, I think he was saying something like after the ballistic system overhaul and then now this animation, that the game is taking more of a form so they can devote more resources into the fun little things where they drop content and stuff like that.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. And hopefully it'll be like some of the movement will be less janky with the new animations. I'm hoping, like the vaulting and everything.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be less blocky.
Right. No getting stuck on fences.
No getting stuck over a rock.
Yeah, or when you're going prone and you're just like your body just kind of shoots up, pointing, looking at the sky.
You'll never see
on,
me.
on your screen, you look like you're hidden behind this like nice little fence or bush, but the enemy just sees you looking up at the heavens, waiting to die. And you're like, how did they see me? And it's like, oh, okay. So hopefully, I'm looking forward to that, and I think it just adds another little depth of detail, which they're really good at.
And one of the things that is interesting about walking through this development process with Black Matter is you get an understanding of how much effort these actually take. I know in the very beginning of following Hell Let Loose in its development, I thought to myself, they have a lot of time to put together these packages of updates. And sometimes I felt like certain updates didn't bring enough to the game and things like that. But it was after I started noticing that these guys are putting in a ton of effort into one thing, and it's a huge endeavor. So I think it's really interesting to see that concept that you normally wouldn't pay mind to if a game wasn't in early access and you weren't following it like we are with this one.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think back in the AMA, he said they started out as a group of 7, I believe. It was 7, a team of 7, and now they're maybe 14.
Yeah.
Like, even 14's not a huge team. So when they were 7 and they were still pumping out all that content, that's just super talented people, super passionate and dedicated. And that's, like you said, that's just a lot of effort and time they put in for even just these little things, and the fact that they go back and look them over again.
It definitely changed my perception on what it takes to develop a video game. And I know it takes quite a long time. It's just, I'm not in it. I'm not in that world, so I don't know what goes into it.
Right. It's been fun too to see with each update how much it changes the game, right? You got your ballistics, and even with the engine upgrade, right? The game has evolved quite a bit, and it's just been fun to watch an amazing game just get even better, which is it's kind of enjoyable, the early access side of things. I like that the industry's taken that stance, giving people the opportunity to participate, right? Because the developers are listening to us, the community, so that just makes a better game overall.
I think it helps that this game felt so complete when it hit early access, to me anyway. Like, I've done quite a few early access games, and I'll play them for maybe a week, and I'm like, okay, I've done almost everything they've got in the game so far. Hell Let Loose, it felt like this is a pretty complete game right out of the bat, where you can play multiple games over and just keep playing it, and it's still fun. I guess it's because of the 50 on 50 and how every map, it kind of changes the points around, where you're never playing the same layout, really.
I think you got a point about that. It definitely was a big enough package and a complete enough package to where you could just time sink a whole lot of hours into it and not get that fatigue of doing the same thing over and over and over again. And maybe that's just the concept behind the game, and that's why it's just kind of taken off, and it's something that we're not used to seeing. So it maybe has just even that little bit of first impression going for it. But at the end of the day, there's so much stuff inside of it now that it's kind of strange, because like you said, it's a good enough package as it was, and now they're throwing more and more into it. It's almost like I'm waiting for, another price point to hit, and I know it's not going to.
I've definitely thought that too, because I think right now it's one of the best deals you can get at full price, because it's $30 full price, I believe.
I think it's 30.
30, yeah.
$29.99.
Yeah, $29.99.
Oh, okay.
Like
not exactly 30.
Like, that's crazy to me that this game, I've said it before, I like to say it's a AAA game at indie prices, because this game is, you would never, like, if you didn't know the team, you wouldn't think that this was a small little company that made this game.
Yeah. 7 to 14 guys and gals.
Yeah, that's incredible, man.
Like, this is better polished and detailed, and just gameplay wise better than the last Call of Duties or Battlefields I've played, and they're $60 AAA titles. So it's just awesome to see, and the fact that the updates keep coming consistently and for free just shows their passion and dedication.
Yeah, you really hope they do well and succeed with this game, because they've shown what they can do, and I would love to see what they're capable of moving forward. Right? Maybe with just what we've seen what they can do with 14 people. What can they do with double that?
Yeah.
Hopefully not get brought up by EA.
Yeah.
But yeah, so also coming up in the next update, we have a new urban map coming up. They haven't really dropped many details on it, except that it's going to be urban focused, which I'm excited for, because
I hope it's lots of buildings.
I am not good at the forest maps like Hill 400. It's a beautiful map, it's an awesome map, but I am terrible at those maps. So a nice urban map, maybe I'll have a chance. I'm excited. We have a little bit of urban in Foy and
St. Mary
Glace. Yep. There's a little urban in there, and I love those. Like, the combat's always intense in those areas, because you just run around the corner into a house, and you could be dead right there, and all the bombs and grenades blowing up. It gets crazy. So I'm excited for this urban map coming up.
I don't know that I'm gonna like it. That just means more camping.
You don't think so? More fighting for houses.
Although I see the strategic behind it,
it's gonna be brutal.
I don't know. It just feels like you're gonna have to do a lot more clearing, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that's gonna become the new meta.
I wonder if the action's probably gonna be a little bit more slow paced, right? Because every corner, every window, every nook and cranny is a potential firing spot.
I mean, I think it really depends on how they lay out the streets. If it's going to be like St. Mary-Église, where there's a lot of space behind, surrounding the town, and then as you come into the town, it gets, more alleyways and you're ripping through backyards and things like that. If they populate the map like that, I think you'll get a very interesting combination of, like what Sakura was saying, the clearing and breaching of buildings, and then also having to fight for those kind of blocks where you have about, maybe 100 feet or 100 yards to actually, exchange some lead at each other.
Yeah, I think I understand that it's a lot of camping, but that could happen because of it. But I think it's also good that they introduce that because it is a different map. And they have the variations already where there's different kinds of strategies for each map. So I think it balances out with all the other maps,
I just want a name.
Yeah.
Right?
Where's this urban map?
Carentan would be dope.
Yeah.
I mean, are we staying in the battle for Normandy? Are we going to go into like maybe a Bastogne? Like, just tell us.
I think they might be capping it off with it, right? So, yeah.
And it would lead more towards the Eastern Front. We're headed that way eventually. So
I'm excited for that. That's
maybe it'd be like
interesting.
Berlin or something. Ooh.
The update, it's got to be only a few weeks out. I want to say it's going to be in mid-July, and so the fact that we haven't seen anything yet, yeah, it's just making me itch.
They're just dangling it, dangling. You're like, ooh, I want it. I don't know what it is, but I want it. Yeah, that'll be the next update's huge, and I can't wait. The animation update, the new map. They're doing sound effects. Oof, I can't imagine the sound effects.
There are some weapons that desperately need it.
See, I'm not too versed, I'm not too knowledgeable in that. So like me, I'm just a casual dude. I think they sound amazing now. So do you have any examples, like off the top of your head, of what could be changed?
So it's kind of hard to put that together. The best way to experience that was when they did the SFX overhaul for the machine guns, the MG42 and the Browning 1919s. So when those changed over, it was a night and day difference. And it changed it from what you would expect to hear in like an older, maybe 60s film. And then you're watching Saving Private Ryan with the actual, real weapon sounds. So to me, some of the weapons feel a little lame. And I don't mean lame as in like it's not fun to play. I mean lame as in like it's just not there. For the Thompson feels like it's not there so much. The bar could definitely get a little bit love, I would think. A lot of the German weapons are pretty spot on, but like even the MP40, MP44, I think that they could also maybe use a touch of love. But I also think that maybe in this overhaul, this sound overhaul, they might be looking at the tank cannons as well, like we were talking about with the last podcast episode, where that Easy 8, when it thumps, that thing's the Easy 8.
Ooh, yeah.
If they do the same thing with the Panther and then the other Shermans, like it would be very, very welcoming, I would say.
Definitely. And I know beyond that, they're just going to improve sounds for everything, which also be exciting down the line. I guess like movement, like your steps and
the trees actually making sounds when they move in the wind.
Imagine if they have like trees blowing up sounds with artillery and stuff. Oh man, if they can somehow add something like that, if artillery hits in a forest, you hear like cracking and stuff like that.
I heard you'll be able to see your feet.
Ooh.
Oh.
What?
Yeah, when you walk, you look down, you don't see your feet. Well, it's rumored.
You're not a hovering glob.
Feet pics now. Aggressor.
That's where the game is moving up, when you can see your feet, because that was a thing for a long time that you couldn't do.
Yeah, so fingers crossed.
Yeah.
After that, I think that covers most of the next update. After that, though, further down the line, there's a ton of stuff they have planned. I think out of most on the roadmap I'm looking forward to as a support player myself is not having to kill myself every 10 seconds. And I'm very interested in how they're going to overhaul that system.
Probably a cooldown system of some sort, but it's much needed.
I hope it's something different than just a easy cooldown added on. You know, I hope they figure something more out.
Yeah, hopefully it'll get people to play that position more too, because I think a lot of people shy away from it. It's like, oh, I don't want to have to just kill myself the entire game.
Yeah, it gets old, but I mean, you can't think of it like that because you have to think of it. You're one of the most important factors in your team winning.
Yeah.
I think that there's going to be I would like to see an accumulation system where, you know, the more you're active and alive, like you accumulate your supply back. But I think what really needs to happen is the support role needs to have better weapons, because that I can see as the second, you know, touch point is not just okay, I just dropped my supplies, I have to redeploy, but it's also the sense of I dropped my supplies and now I'm a rifleman without the ability to drop ammo. So I think if they open that up a little bit more, we'll see some more use.
Wouldn't it be cool if like the support role, like if there was some sort of like proximity thing, like if he was standing closer to the machine gunner, right? The machine gunner was able to reload faster, or I don't know, it'd be interesting to have some sort of impact where, you know, keeping the squad together as well.
I would see that more for like a squad leader type perk. I think like if they could do like a support option where like you pick supplies up off of bodies on the ground, like you forage for supplies off bodies and stuff.
Convert enemy supplies.
Yeah, I also thought of that. Like if you break down enemy supplies, you get those supplies.
Sakura with a winner. That would be so cool.
Big brain.
And if they had like cargo trucks or something, or like Jeeps, you could drive supplies out to support players and they can use like, say like the support can hold 100 supplies, have like 500 supplies on a Jeep or cargo, and you could run out to the Jeep and pick up more supplies or something like that.
I can see that as a definite. That is going to be a definite thing that comes. Couldn't tell you what update, but from what I got from the AMA logistics, you know, systems, that is going to be a thing. I don't know if they'll mix it with the transport options. That would be kind of cool, and that would be a neat nod to history, because there were times where Jeeps were the only things that were resupplying you.
Oh yeah, and it'll make people actually use them. Like I don't see too many people using the recon vehicles and stuff they just added, like, so to give an incentive for people to actually use the new vehicles. I hope the Jeeps drive fun. Like I know, like one of my favorite things back in like the old Battlefield 1942s was driving the Jeeps around and just running people over. So I hope you could still kind of do something like that when they add them. Definitely looking forward to that though, because support needs the love.
So Yoda, what are you looking forward to on this roadmap?
There's so much stuff. I'd have to say the penetration systems. I want to be able to shoot through, you know, objects. No more hiding behind fences for people.
That is going to be such a major change when that comes. That is going to completely change the game.
And in my experience from previous games that have done similar, you'd be surprised at how many people just don't understand how that works. It's interesting. So I'm looking forward to it because that gives me an advantage.
I want to see a Springfield, so a sniper on either the U.S. or the German, shoot, like nail a dude, right? And that bullet goes through that dude into the dude behind him. That is what I want to see when I think of bullet pen.
I'm just thinking like most of the cover in Hell Let Loose, a lot of the cover is just hedgerows. And right now you can't really shoot through the hedgerows, so that's gonna like, woof. Some maps are nothing but hedgerows, I feel. So if you just have bullets flying through those hedgerows, it's that the intensity, kind of like what we were talking about on the last episode, of just you're running with your friends and all of a sudden they're all dead. Like those moments are gonna increase tenfold, and I can't wait.
I will say though, melee sounds a lot of fun. Give me like a knife or even hand to hand. You know that's going to be a blast. Just people just throwing down and.
Yeah,
I agree.
I wonder how if they're going to do like a system where you actually hold a knife and you have to run around with the knife and knife people, or if it's just like one of those like you hit the button and it's a quick melee attack. like while you're still holding your gun.
Yeah, I hope it's more substantial than just a kind of like press F.
Oh yeah, I think I would definitely hope it's added like an actual weapon that you have to equip, because it just then it's a gamble for yourself too. It's not just you don't think about it, just hit the melee button. Like you got to make sure you really want that knife out.
Be nice to be able to fix bayonets.
Ooh, I didn't even think about that.
What about you, Sakura? What are you looking at this roadmap?
The most I'm looking forward to are flamethrowers. I mean, I just picture, especially with so much, maps with openness, just, charge. And just seeing that fire go out sounds exciting. Seeing all that red, orange.
Now, since they're introducing flamethrowers, I'm be mighty curious to see if those things are easy to like blow up from behind, and what those things will do. Like, I'm hoping it's going to go the route that I'm pretty sure it's going to, considering what they do with grenades and artillery rounds. So.
Oh, so you like an explosion area if you destroy?
Which means no one's gonna want to be around those guys. It's like, yeah, dude, do your thing. Like, get away from me. And like, I support what you're doing, but like, go do it over there.
My like sadistic side kind of hopes they have some cool animation for when you light somebody on fire, and they don't just like drop dead in flames, and they actually like run around for a second, like just completely engulfed before they drop.
It's funny you say that, because I can't see Sakura's face, but the minute she said that, I could envision this just look of, I'm going to use this thing, and I'm only going to use this thing, and it's going to be a good time.
This is my new tool.
Screw sniping. Screw SL. I'm a flamethrower person.
I picture like the Grinch's evil grin.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to have to put a Grinch emote on my face.
Yeah, there you go. They said that they're going to try and make it like napalm, where it sticks, and it's going to be like on the battlefield for some time.
Oh, man.
Ooh, that's another. That'll be awesome, because you could kind of use the flamethrower guy as like almost like an engineer building the gates and barbed wire and stuff, and just be like, here, throw some flames down across this road.
Yeah.
Huh, that's interesting.
I mean, you could even coat your barbed wire in flames, so you can't even vault it anymore.
I wonder if you could use them to like blind the tank drivers or something. Imagine just shooting up the front of tank with the flames, and it's just stuck flames in their view.
Oh, that'd be so
That's
cool.
just such a bold thing to put in a game, too.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I can't imagine what goes into coding that.
Yeah, that's gotta be hell of a code. Especially if they're gonna do like napalm-y type. Oof.
They said that they're not going to do it unless they can do it right. And that's one of the things that they were saying, is that's how you do it right, is you make it stick to stuff.
Yes.
Godspeed to that programmer.
I bet they've got working models. I want to see it. I want it now. Just give me the basics. I'll even take the crappy version.
I think the thing that I'm looking the most forward to, and this is probably a little bit of a cop-out, because they're going to do this for the rest of the game's life, is just the additional vehicles that they'll bring in. Ever since I was a kid, I've just been so enthralled with the vehicles of World War II. And when you add that together with the Eastern Front, and where this game goes further on, whether they're adding in new forces and stuff like that, there is just so much out there that we can see come to life. And that to me it's what makes a game like this really shine.
See, I don't know too much about the vehicles. Like, I love World War II history, but I'm not one of those like in-depth. I know a lot of the details. So what kind of things could they add that would be different from what they have?
So the first thing that comes to mind is, and I'm not going to talk about the supplier or transport trucks, Jeeps, or anything like that. Like, those are known. Those will definitely make it in. You can't play a World War II game without that kind of stuff. But the first thing that comes to mind are things like tank destroyers, where they're fast-moving, low profile, but hard-hitting and lightly armored. That would change this game immensely, where you have a vehicle that's about the height of a regular person, maybe a foot longer than that, and that thing can hide in a hedge, it can hide behind a tree and just nail something, and it would really change the whole armor situation that's going on right now in Hell Let Loose. So it's little things like that where they could just bring in a vehicle that was commonly used in the war and just change the game. You know, things like mortar carriers, where you're driving in a half track and there's a mortar in the back, and you're just driving around dropping mortars on people. It's just a very interesting stuff that made World War II what World War II was.
Wow, that mortar one sounds that's like something I want to be on. That's got to be so hard to aim, though. Wow.
And that's the thing, like, you know, it takes a lot of skill for these new weapons to be introduced. You know, yeah, it takes a while to learn how to drive the tank in Hell Let Loose and get comfortable with the gear shifting and the communication behind it. But then couple that with now you have a indirect fire weapon in the bed of a truck, you know, that takes a whole lot more going on.
That'd be cool. Me and Duck were playing tank the other day, and it was like Three Stooges playing tanks. It was me and him and some other guy who was like his first day playing tanks, and oh man, that did not go good.
I avoid vehicles at all costs. I'll just shoot them with NAT.
You could have put like the Benny Hill theme on our stream, and it would have fit perfect with how we were playing.
Sakura, you wouldn't drive with me?
I've ridden in a tank. They tried to teach me how to shoot. For the longest time, I did not know you could zoom in while being in the tank. I was shooting from like the original point and missing everything.
Yeah, maybe another time.
Good choice.
Driving's the one thing I'm decent at in the tank. I can drive pretty good. Shooting though, and I could spot obviously, but shooting I'm not that great at. I'm terrible at aiming and shooting while like the tank guy's trying to move, the driver's trying to move. So on top of tanks, like the vehicles they're adding, I know they want to add new weapons, and that'll be cool. Like the loadouts is more what I'm looking forward to rather than new weapons.
Just a little bit more customization.
Oh yeah, and like
options.
A squad leader doesn't always have to have a, you know, semi-auto. So I think that what holds a lot of people back from being squad leaders and stuff is they want to have the Car 98 or the M1. It'll be cool if you could like switch out grenades. Like if you will want frags, you could take smokes or vice versa.
Oh, editing the actual loadout.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll have like actual, you'll be able to edit it or if they'll just have preset loadouts. But
I think when they are looking at new weapon and loadout ideas, I really hope that they're of the mindset that they want to flesh out these roles a little bit better. Kind of like what I was saying with the support role. I think that being locked in to a specific weapon, to a specific loadout for that specific role, it's a little too constrictive. And gamers in this day and age, we're well used to choose your fork and knife and go eat. That's what we're so used to. And if they spent a little bit of time in focusing these weapons and loadouts to make sense with the role, I think that would be a 10 out of 10 win. And they have a lot of things from history, which we know Black Matter is considering history on every step of this journey. They have a lot of leeway and a lot of fact to lead up to, this is what the German assault soldier, the stormtrooper, this is what they carried in the battle. This is what the German light machine gunner walked into battle with, yada, yada, yada. And it's that would, like I said, the easiest way to say it is it's a 10 out of 10 win for me. And when you peruse through the supporters on the Hell Let Loose Discord, a lot of them talk about this same stuff, where it's a nod to the historical authenticity, but it's also it's the role play aspect. You are that person that you've seen on TV, that you've seen in movies. That's you.
It would also be cool, like if you could pick up weapons off the ground, like you kill people. That'd be dope. Like you could, but maybe like if you like picked up a machine gun, you picked up the MG, like maybe you don't use it as well as the machine gunner or something.
I would say like like cross roll. So like if you're an engineer for the U.S. and you drop an engineer on the German side, then it would make sense that you would have a balanced weapon system for each other. So like the way I would imagine it is the U.S. engineer has the grease gun and the German engineer has the MP40. And so those two weapons, crossing over is not that big of a stretch. And because one of the things, historically is you trained with your weapon and that's what you trained with. So that's what you're comfortable with and using. So like you said, maybe having a little bit of difficulty with it or, just maybe a little bit restrictive, because at the end of the day, you would get people just searching for the MP44 or the BAR. I could see that happening.
Yeah, that would not be good.
And team killing.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you never know.
Scratch that.
I see
idea.
that happening.
Just don't even. I did not even think of the team killing aspect, and that would happen.
Mighty nice weapon you got there.
When you look at the history books, there's a lot of weapons that you can choose from. I mean, if you want to go straight Battlefield 1 and throw out every prototype weapon of World War 1, yeah, you could do that with World War 2 game. But when it comes down to fielded weapons and things like that, there was a amount that you could choose from, but it was pretty standard issue for that war. It's only a real modern day concept to have a ton of different weapons you can go into war with. So I'm just curious to see what they're gonna do with that.
Yeah. Hopefully, I hope they spread it out too. Like they don't drop it all at once. Like keep us biting, keep us nibbling at the bait. Like drop one here, drop one there, and it seems like that's their way of doing things. So I think that's most likely how. The last little thing I wanted to touch up on the roadmap. I know French. I know you play Commander a little bit, and they're gonna add more Commander abilities. And if there was one Commander ability that you could add, what would that be? That you would have an idea for, if you could think of one.
Well, at the end of the day, I think commanding needs to be fleshed out a little bit more. It feels a little disjointed at times. So when you say commander abilities, I would say something that can immediately impact the current game that's going on, but then also push that forward a little bit. Because the current commander abilities, they are either immediate impact or long-term impact. So, and it's mostly split up between the resource types. Your manpower abilities, that's more longevity. That's where you're trying to make a longer impact for a longer period of time, whereas the munition based ones, you are just trying to make something happen immediately. So I think I would like to see things along the lines of paradrops, where not just with supplies but drop an AT gun somewhere. I think that you can make that happen and make it happen very, very make an impactful. The word's escaping me. Well, you'll make an impact on the game as itself. So things of that nature. I don't want to see any more or very many more instant kill abilities like the bombing run or the strafing run. I think those have their place. So I guess that in a long answer, that's what I would like to see the direction go.
Yeah, I feel you, because I think the instant, like you said, bombing run and strafing, I think right now those kind of work as the only two. I don't think you really want too much more, because then it just gets spammy. So having ability to drop AT guns or stuff like fortifications, maybe that'd definitely be something useful, and have to actually give the commander a little bit more chess moves to think about making. So I think that pretty much wraps up the roadmap. The last thing, the last topic I wanted to touch up on for this podcast was, we talked about what Hell Let Loose is, we talked about the gameplay, we talked about tips, we've talked about the roadmap and upcoming future stuff. I want to talk now, why do we love Hell Let Loose? What makes us keep playing this game? We all have our moments and games we've played in Hell Let Loose that I think everybody can think of something, a moment or a match we've had that sticks out in our heads of why we love this game and what keeps us coming back to it. So, Yoda, do you have any specific game, match, memory, moment that you think of when you think like back on all your Hell Let Loose time?
I mean, nothing. I think really it's just the action, right? Like for me, I love the whole looking down the line and just seeing like 20 people just engaging the enemy, right? And sometimes you can see the enemy, sometimes you can't, and just that whole insane cacophony of just action and bullets and things going off. Just sitting back and sometimes watching everything going down is part of the fun for me. And then of course just the whole communication with your buddies and working together as a team to outmaneuver the enemy, or sometimes being outmaneuvered by them. It's interesting to see another team and how they operate. Sometimes you got to give them props, man. We've gone up against a lot of good teams, but overall it's just that action, that heavy action that's just spread out across the entire map, and you can hear it. I mean, it just sounds like war, man.
It's definitely an environment that draws you in and keeps you coming back. How about you, French? Anything particular?
Yeah, so mine is an actual moment, and I'll try to keep it brief. It was actually during our first Dicks versus the World event. I want to say maybe the second one. Those were ones that we used to do way back in the day before we did the 50v50s. And we were playing on Foy, and the point was at Eastern Orth, so the way far eastern point in the second line for on to the US. We were playing Germany, and then the next point to take was the Bois Jacques in the middle. And the enemy was just on us. Like, we had just taken the Eastern Orth, and then the enemy was just still, putting up a huge fight. And I was a squad leader, and nobody was returning fire. They were just kind of trying to get settled, and it was just chaos, and they were really pushing up on us. And I'll try to use as few expletives as possible, but I remember I was just running up and down Eastern North saying, there was this berm that was about 20 feet in front of us that offered little cover, but it allowed us to fire throughout the whole fields up into the forest. And I was like, "You get up there, guys! Point your rifles in this direction!" And yada yada yada. Just yelling at everybody. There had to be 40 some odd, maybe not 40, maybe about 30 people. And you would just see them just cautiously move up and get up there and just start throwing fire down. And then at that point, when we started beating them back, we would, I told everybody, throw your smokes out. You see 20 smokes just fly off in the distance, and we charged that forest. And it wasn't even the point to take. But afterwards, when we took the forest, you just heard everybody in proximity chat going, "Yeah, we did it! We did it! Oh, it's so, just totally giving each other virtual high fives and stuff like that. Like, that, it's moments like that. You can make that out of absolutely anything in this game. And I try in every game I play to make those moments, because even if you lose at the end of the day, you're going to remember that. And you're going to remember who you did that with, who was, pushing you to get up there. And it's almost like you're in a movie. So, it's that kind of stuff. That's the lifeblood for me in this game.
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely need somebody like that yelling at me in moments like that, because I'm one of those guys run across the field, they get shot, I prone, and I'm like, oh god, I definitely need somebody yelling at me, telling me to pick up my nuts and get going. Sakura, you have any particular moments of Hell Let Loose that you love?
Yeah, I enjoy playing most roles like SL, support, AT as needed. But the one moment I think I enjoy the most is when I'm playing recon, whether it's a spotter or a sniper. This particular instance was W14, and we're trying to cap the point. I somehow snuck in, and I just started taking away OPs and Garys, and our team was about to push. I died, but because I eliminated their spawns, that allowed them to push. And so it's moments like that when it happens in a game where it lets your team push in. It just feels really great. Like, oh, hey, they capped the point. Okay, move on to the next one. It's those little things, or the little smart plays that you do that just make it so fulfilling, even like an hour and a half later, or 2 hours.
Oh, I bet, especially if you were the one personally responsible for taking down all those outposts and everything. Like, your team moved forward solely because of you. So that's gotta feel awesome.
Yeah, it feels really good. You're like, yes, victory.
Brought to you by Sakura.
Yes, I find all the carries and OPs.
You have some broad shoulders.
That's right. I spawn and I'm like, oh, outpost destroyed. Very nice.
Carry that team on your back.
My back hurts. Just kidding. I love everybody.
Go take a long walk. It'll stretch it out for you.
Oh, I know.
Hashtag long work.
I love it.
I think my favorite moment I've had in Hell Let Loose, one of my favorites, I don't know if it is my favorite, but it's one that I really like, I'll think of, and it was a good time. And this was way back. It was an event. It wasn't a Team Dix event. I don't think it might have been the first event that we had even taken part of. And it was like one of those, like, I don't know what they call them exactly, but it was like a simulated, like, realistic battle where each side had setups and fortifications. We spent like 20 minutes doing pre-setups and pre-fortifying places, and then we like hit go and started the match. So it was kind of like a realistic, like, tactical battle, I guess, of sorts. But this was back, it was like multiple groups, because I don't think anybody back then could even field a whole 50-man team. But I wasn't even supposed to be in the match. I wasn't that confident, so I didn't sign up. And I remember I was watching Duckman stream, and they were getting ready to start like doing the setups and everything, and they were one person down, and I was like, well, I'll jump in. And I was so glad that I did, because it was surreal. Like, our squad was just in this one little zone defending this one spot of the map. I forget exactly what map. It might have been Utah. And just, there was, for the first like 10-15 minutes, there was no push in our zone. So we're just sitting there, no enemies, but to the left of us, you could just hear battles going on. To the right of us, you could just hear all kinds of explosions and bullets and stuff going on. And we're just all sitting there like, ooh, man, does it sound crazy out there? Like, it was actual, like, a real, like, war type feeling, because all this stuff's going on around us, and we're just sitting there waiting, like, when's it coming for us? And then it did, and it was just insane. I guess they figured, oh, we can't push from these guys. Let's all push on this middle part at once where we were. So we had just like the whole enemy team coming at us, and it was madness. I can't even remember if we won that battle or not, but it was just that moment of just hearing all the fire to the east and all the fire to the west, and we're just sitting there looking out like, whoo. It was nuts. It was definitely an intense moment where we weren't even doing anything. And I think that's one of the big draws of this game, is just how it pulls you in and feels like it's sometimes it feels more than a video game when I'm playing it, like how intense and how hellacious it gets, that it draws you in and pulls you in a different way.
Yeah, it's those moments that make it for everybody that just bring you back and bring you back for more and more
and more. And with that, we conclude the D Word Hell Let Loose podcast. We thank you for tuning in, and we hope you enjoyed both parts 1 and 2 of this series. If you'd like to keep up with us, make sure to like and subscribe to the D Word. And visit us at discord.gg/teamdix.